Did you hear Dana Brown? Here's Dana Brown talking about Drew Gilbert, who was just drafted. Here's Dana Brown talking about challenging Drew Gilbert to come up and compete with for the center field job.
I'm challenging Gilbert right now, who was like the top pick in the draft last year, first rounder. Challenging him that, hey, get ready, because we believe in young players. And, so I think he's a guy that, could come up and play center field.
I don't know if you saw this, but there was ESPN had a
Is there any
rankings.
chance Drew Gilbert is on the big club this year? I don't see it.
ESPN had I'll see if I can find it. They had their farm system.
Well, yeah, we just saw
rankings.
Not Jude Law. Keith Law had his rankings, and I think Gilbert was like their third highest ranked.
And Jude Law too, from the movie.
Yeah, not Jude Law,
Yeah.
but the other Law. No, yeah. If he's gonna play, I don't know if he's gonna play Drew Gilbert in the movie. I don't know. That's what Jude Law might do, but Keith Law had Drew Gilbert.
So Kylie McDaniel was the one that I read. No, it wasn't Kylie McDaniel. Was it Keith Law? Whose article I saw? I don't think it was Keith Law.
Law is the only.
No. There was somebody else who had an article that talked about who the Astros. He didn't call him Tier 1, but he had different names for him, and he talked about Drew Gilbert, and he talked about some of the pitchers. Like it was a fantastic read on their insider or whatever they're calling it, ESPN Plus article for baseball. It was a really really good piece that talked about the minor league systems. And I'll see.
Here's Keith Law's rankings: Hunter Brown 1, Jiner Diaz 2, Drew Gilbert 3, and then Colin Barber, who was the second round center fielder. Jacob Melton was their second round outfielder that they took. He's fifth. It goes Colin Barber and then Jacob Melton.
So this is a guy named Kylie McDaniel, and he has the Astros 27th overall. Major League Baseball for total minor leagues, 28th in quality depth, prospects better than a 40 of FV. And number 1 is Hunter Brown. Number 2 is Drew Gilbert. Number 3, Pedro Leon. 4, Jiner. 5, Corey. 6, Colin. 7, Jacob Melton. In his 40 FV players, he's got Joe Perez, these are guys with higher than a 40. And these are guys who are just at 40. Joe Perez, Forrest Whitley, Camilo Diaz, Ryan Clifford, David Hensley, Dari Lorenzo, Andrew Taylor, right-hand pitcher, Trey Dombrowski, Luis Baez, and Wainer Luciano. And then I'm trying to see if there's any names that you might recognize that are in 35+, which is a lower. But he has the biggest chance for a breakout this year is Drew Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest breakout for a player underneath that level would be Luis Baez, right fielder Luis Baez. And
okay.
I mean, yeah. So those are the two he has, and then ranked prospects beyond the top 100. So he just talks about Gilbert was my number 1 pick to click in the 2022 draft as an early round pick with the biggest gap between where I ranked him to where he was picked. It seems obvious that there are a lot of Brett Gardner vibes here, plus speed, standout center fielder on defense, plus arm, real feel for contact, and 20 homer upside. He stands just 5'9", but probably never get a 70 grade tool, and showed some of those skills for only one season at Tennessee, but that's just picking nits instead of focusing on what he does well. Melton was another 2022 draft prospect I liked relative to the consensus because of his 55 raw power and 60 speed in center field. So, yeah, it's once again, here's another guy that doesn't rank the system high, but I don't really care as long as you have enough guys who can populate the roster. The Astros don't need a lot of turnover.
How many guys? I mean, homegrown talent, 1. 2, young guys that contribute at the major league level. The Astros, as far as a good team goes, the Astros have to be the number 1 team.
Well, but they probably don't have the depth.
Under team control or arbitration guys that contribute at the high. I mean, Jordan would still be under team control if they didn't sign him to the extension.
They're talking about guys who are
They're
in the
on
minors
the team
now
because the Astros keep bringing them up.
Right.
Jeremy Pena.
But the guys who are there now, they're saying not as many high-level guys as other teams. But A, the Astros lost draft picks for 2 straight years. And B, you have a team who, quite frankly, has moved some prospects for players over the years, including for Garrett Cole. They've moved prospects for players.
Yes.
And then C, I would just tell you that it really doesn't matter how deep you are at this particular time because there's not a lot of openings. You just need
guy or two.
every 2 years, one guy to come up. But it just so happens that when they come up, they've been monsters.
Well, look at the guys that they've just brought up last year. Jeremy Pena, Chas McCormick. Well, Jake was
Chaz was 2 years. Chaz and Jake were. Remember, Chaz was with Jake.
Very little.
Right.
Very little. But he came up. And the pitchers, Hunter Brown.
And Hensley came up last year.
And Hensley came up last year. Hunter Brown. And how many pitchers came up last year and helped out? I mean, it's been a revolving door. I don't care about their 27th. They get a guy that comes up. How many major league teams have guys that come up and contribute at the level that the Astros do?
I mean, it's not irrelevant. It's irrelevant right now for the Astros because who cares about their minor league system right now? All I care about is do they have a chance to win a World Series?
Yeah.
For other teams, and the Astros have been in this position where it's a really big deal. Like it's a really big deal how usually if you're really concerned about what the farm system looks like, you're not very good or you don't think you have a lot of hope. I'm curious about the farm system, but it's not. I want to enjoy living in now and enjoy what's going on now because you don't really have to have a deep farm system. You just need some pieces that you can develop. That's what you need. And, one of the things that they do, this isn't like transfer portal, but you could kind of look at it that way. The Astros have been really, really good also at finding players, especially pitchers, who they could bring over as cheapies in free agency, and then they turn them into guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like transfer portal. They don't have to bring. A lot of times for other teams, they're coming up from the minor leagues. For the Astros, they're getting cheap deals on relief pitchers, and they're working them into the bullpen and turning them into good pitchers. Okay,
Right.
They're doing that instead of going and getting them from the minor leagues. So what?
Or they bring them up from the minor leagues. Hunter Brown, Seth Martinez, Blanco. There's guy after guy after guy that these guys bring up, and they contribute to a World Series team, and they're on under team control.